All right, good afternoon and welcome to the webinar from Central Data on the future of equipment rental and is CD rental. We are here today to talk to you about this really exciting new product that we're rolling out. And I'm going to turn it over to one of my co-hosts, Joe Davidson, who's going to talk about our product offering. Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegelman. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. Today is a big day in the life of Central Data. We are very proud to announce that we have completed the initial development of CD rental, and we are officially in limited availability and have our first client. So we're super excited. The timing of this was really great. And Daryl, maybe if you can advance to the next slide. Just wanted to set the table a little bit for everyone, what's going to happen today. I'm going to speak very briefly. I'm going to try to keep it brief because you really want to hear Kathy talk about how we got here, why we did this. Daryl's going to speak in a little bit more detail about the integration, key features, and how Cloud Suite distribution has been married to CD rental. And then the main event, Kathy Gilbert, our product manager, business consultant, is going to walk through I wouldn't say a full demonstration because we can't show all the power in 45 minutes or so, but we're going to do our best to highlight on the key features, functions, integration points, and how everything's going to flow. All right, one more, Daryl, if you could. Right, there's my favorite little logo. Those of you that have been at TUG have probably been forced to take a sticker or a T-shirt or something with our little rental man here. But we did officially embark on this journey really in 2022. This has established 2023 because that's when we really started to have a product. But the evolution of this really began about 6.5 years ago when Central Data acquired a Infor partner based out of St. Louis. And the intent was to, take on Lowry Systems and eventually migrate them all to Cloud Suite distribution because they're distributors. Well, I walked in and realized that we had a large base of equipment rental companies running fax with some intellectual property that Lowry had written and maintained for a number of years. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise and opened up new doors and new opportunities for us. A couple years ago, we made a concerted effort, brought Kathy on board after a number of years at Dayton Simons to help us build this product with Ryan, who many of you know. We began some market evaluation. There's a lot of rental systems out there, disparate systems, mainly geared at serialized. I rent a drill, I return a drill with a serial number. After some coaching from a good friend of mine named John Woodrum and Kathy, they quickly educated me that this is not that, the non-serialized market. So we kept looking and we realized, you know what, we know a lot about this stuff. We have a 30-year-old mature product with fax, and we began the development journey. It was really important for us to write this very tightly integrated with Cloud Suite distribution, to have one system, one interface, one-stop shop. We also have a legacy base of clients on our fax product, which was the original intent to build this, and it still is. We also quickly realized that there's an appetite in the distribution market for more traditional wholesalers to rent equipment, floor cleaners, drills, power tools, all kinds of stuff. So, and lastly, it gave us the opportunity to prospect for new clients in the rental industry, given that fax is at the end of its life. So here we are. So it took the better part of 2 years to do this the right way, we believe, to architect the solution. Ryan and Kathy working hand in hand, using a 30-year-old mature equipment rental product with fax as our minimum viable product. So our initial launch of this is not bare bones. It is the functionality to meet the needs of somebody who's been using this product with another ERP for the better part of 30 years. So we're super excited. We have a client. We have another client in beta who's going live in May. And we hope you like what you see today. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Daryl Ziegelman, and he's going to speak a little bit more about how we're revolutionizing the equipment rental market. Take it away, Mr.
Yeah,
Daryl.
thanks, Joe. So really want to talk about the key features of this solution. CD Rental is part of Cloud Suite Distribution. So we wanted to start with, first of all, having a solution that was complete and had all the features that our customers needed. It was really important. There are rental solutions out there, some of which, as Joe said, we looked at, but they're standalone and they integrate to solutions. Well, we didn't want to spend our whole lives just being an integration company. We wanted to be a rental solution company. So by choosing Cloud Suite Distribution, it gave us the innate advantage of all the things that were already part of Cloud Suite Distribution. And then on top of that, to have the rental functionality for people that only rent or people that rent as well as distribute products. So we got advantage of, we didn't have to create the security models. We didn't have to create a cloud delivered solution. We didn't have to create how printers were going to print. We didn't have to create a general ledger or inventory or accounts receivable or accounts payable, all the things that Cloud Suite Distribution already did out of the box. This was now a new tool that you could add to the stable of things that Cloud Suite Distribution did right out of the gate. So what does CD Rental give you on top of Cloud Suite Distribution? It gives you the ability as part of Cloud Suite Distribution to track your rental inventory, whether it's in-house or it's out in the world, right? Have you rented it out? Where is it? When is it coming back? Can we know those kind of things? Can we track some maintenance schedule so that rental inventory, when it comes back, are we tracking with when does that product need to be maintenance next? So do we know that? Are we tracking that? Are we monitoring the asset's location? Is it in the yard? Is it maintenance? Is it checked in or is it not checked in? You know, is it rented? Is it coming back from rent? What are those things that we need to? The interface is the interface. So if you're a Cloud Suite Distribution user already, you know this interface already. So this is an award-winning intuitive design interface by Infor, and we are now just providing CD Rental as part of that. So if your users are familiar, they will know how to use CD Rental right out of the box. It will just be some new screens and new functionality or flow. If you're not familiar, you know, it will be seamless, the entire experience, because we've made it so that's the power of the platform that is Cloud Suite Distribution. We have many reports, hundreds, Ryan's working on hundreds of reports to analyze the rental activity and financial performance and what's on rent, what's on, you know, what's coming back, how much profit we've made on rental equipment and where things are. So all included in there and all one sale. So when we go to rent, we can sell our used equipment, we can sell our new equipment, we can do it with serialized, we can do it with non-serialized. It's all one transaction. So unlike other solutions where you might have to have a separate rental inventory or order entry and you can rent one time and then you have to go somewhere else to place an order, you can do it all at the counter at one transaction. And then lastly on here, we talk about the migration path. So Joe said we have a number of fax customers who are using our old equipment rental solution that built this minimum viable product. This is giving you a path forward, and we have a migration and we have a conversion to get the data over from fax into CD Rental so that you can hit the ground running and start taking transactions on the first day out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to my other co-host, Kathy Gilbert, who is going to talk about the solution itself.
Okay,
Kathy?
thanks. Thanks, Daryl, and thanks to all of you for visiting with us today. We're very excited, obviously, you can tell, to show you CD Rental. The agenda for the demo piece of this will be, we're going to start with the user experience. We'd like to show you what it looks like and how to access CD Rental. Then we're going to run through the order entry life cycle. And as Joe said, this is kind of a basic. We have a lot of advanced features that we won't be showing you today, but we're open to your follow-ups and happy to do a deep dive at some point. Excuse me. So we're going to start with order entry, and we will be doing shipping management, rental contract conversion, rental invoicing, and then we're going to close out with rental return on the order life cycle. During that time, we'll be looking at rental order entry and our product our inquiry screens, and then we're going to take a look at our setup processes. At the tail end, I'm going to touch a little bit on inventory management and rental asset management. So with that said, I'm going to go now, and we're going to go right into CD Rental. Take a look at it. Daryl, if you could do that. Alrighty, you're looking at Cloud Suite distribution. This is your starting point in your workday, whether you are coming in to enter a regular sales order, a rental order, a purchase order. Here's your starting point. So when we began this journey, we wanted to develop the user interface to be consistent with Cloud Suite to allow for ease of use and ease of access. And whether you are an existing Cloud Suite or SXC user or brand new to CD Rental, you know, learning how to get around will hopefully be a lot easier since everything is so tightly integrated. Here's our menu, and this is just the standard standard Cloud Suite menu. So if I were going to come in and do a sales order, just a straightforward sales order, I'd come in here and go to sales and entry and go into my sales order. Okay, CD Rental is just a few slots down on the standard menu. The menus are consistent with standard. We have the same sub-menus. We were careful to use the same naming conventions for our processes. All of our processes begin with a prefix of ER, and there's two reasons for that. Number one, easier to find, and number two, no, we wanted to make sure that we weren't going to conflict with standard Cloud Suite processes. So here's our entry here. There's our rental order entry. Now, for the folks that might be current Cloud Suite or SXC users, no need to worry. We can still use our acronyms, which are very handy once you learn them. ER, as I said, is the prefix for all of our processes. So these are all of our rental processes. That's a lot to go through, but if you go to ERI for inquiry or ERE for entry, and there's our rental order entry. So I can launch from this shortcut screen, or I can launch from the menu. I'm going to go from the menu today, and we're going to start in with our first order. Okay, so this is rental order entry. I'm going to mention just briefly searches. Searches in standard Cloud Suite and CD Rental are the same, all the same functionality. You've got a couple of quick, you know, you can just type in whatever you're looking for. If you know your number, if you just want to type in a word, if I'm looking for construction, you also have advanced searches. So you can come in here and I'm searching for a customer. I might want to search for a customer from only certain states or certain cities or whatever. So be aware of those, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say about searches. They're available throughout Cloud Suite and CD Rental, so we won't touch on those again. Obviously, I've gotten ready for this demo, so I know where I'm going. I'm going to start with customer, and this little menu that pops up is my little memory bank. It remembers the last few places I've been. Customers can be shared between sales and rental, so you don't have to have dual entry. It populated my warehouse with a rental warehouse. My operator ID has a default rental warehouse, and it also has a default sale warehouse. If I'm in a rental process, one of those that starts with ER, the system knows that, and if I need a warehouse, this is what my default will be. And then if I'm in a standard process of any type, the default would be my sale warehouse. Okay, order type. We have 4. Quote, reservation, contract, and invoice credit. The quote is just what it sounds like. It's a quote. It does not commit inventory or reserve inventory, and it carries expiration dates. If you use the quote as your starting point, it has the same tools and pricing ability that the reservation has. And the quote can be converted into the reservation, so you would not have to rekey it. The reservation is actually the rental order, and this is where you're going to be staging up your order, getting your pricing correct. You're going to manage your shipping within the reservation. You're going to convert it to a contract. The contract does the heavy lifting in the whole process. Once you have a contract, it's ongoing for the life of the rental job, whether that's a short-termer or a long-term. It can be months or more. But the contract will manage all of your invoicing. The contract will manage all of your return activity. It keeps track of everything that happens during the life of that contract, everything that happens in that rental job. It will stay open until the last line is returned. Throughout the life of the contract, you can continue to add to that contract, and that's a recommended practice. In other words, if you're 4 or 5 months into a rental job and you need to get more equipment out onto that same job, you can ship that equipment and add it into the original contract without creating multiple contracts. That keeps it nice and clean for not only you to manage a rental, but it also keeps it clean for your customer because they're only going to receive one invoice then. And then the 4th one is invoice credit. The invoice credit is just an adjusting standalone. If you need to issue a credit or an invoice, if an error was made along the way, you need some way to correct it. So that's what that's for. We're going to start with reservation today and work from there. Now I need a ship to. So the ship to is required for rental. I'll use a search this time. Use this one. And I can put a PO, and it's not required in this case. However, you can set a requirement in your ship to record or your customer record that will require it. But for now, I'll just put that in there. So our rent date. Today, I'm going to backdate our start date to July 1st to give us room for invoicing and returning during the demo. Note that my default expected return date is 7/28 or 7/28. That's 28-day rental. It automatically is calculating a 28-day rental because that's how I have my particular system set up. You can set yours up for 30 as well. The expected rental does not have to be a monthly period. You can change it. If I wanted to return this on July 15th and make this a short-term rental, I have the option to do that right here. So this isn't chiseled in stone and it's not binding. So we'll click next and move on. And we are now looking at our line entry screen. So we're going to enter a few lines. For example, line type, we have 4: rental, re-rent, used, and new, used sale, and new sale. Used sale would be selling out of rental fleet. New sale would be selling out of your default sale warehouse. Okay, we're going to start with rental. And I'm going to enter my first item number. It remembers where I've been. And as soon as I enter my first line and my first item number, it diverts me to a ship info screen here. The reason it's doing that is it realizes I am going to enter a line and I'm going to have to ship it. So it's defaulting to my default warehouse. It's picking up my date that I just entered. It's picking up ship via and freight terms from our ship to record. I'm going to just accept my default and move forward. Okay, so now I've got shipping information tied to this line. You will not have to do that for every single line. The information I just entered for the first line will carry forward to all subsequent lines that I enter unless I tell it not to. At any point in line entry, I can go back into my ship info and just change it. I can say, well, I want this line to ship out of a different warehouse, and then I can change another one to say, I want this to ship on a different date. So you can have as many multiples, shipping warehouses and shipping date combinations as you feel that you need on this single order. And each warehouse date combination represents a shipment, and each shipment needs a shipping ticket, which is being created in the background. So I'm going to enter my quantity now. We're going to have 20 of these out on rent. And note, I have a monthly rental rate that has defaulted into my screen. Talk briefly about that here. I'm going to drill to the rates. And the rates are defaulted from the warehouse product setup record. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how these are created and the default rental rate process, because we're going to look at that whole setup process at the end of our order. So just be aware that these are all defaulting from the warehouse product. The warehouse product record also has a default minimum rental period for this part. And if there were charges that went with this particular product, they'd be entered here and defaulted also from the warehouse product. So again, I will tell you more about the warehouse product at the end of when we get the order taken care of. So we'll go back to our order. There's one other thing I'll tell you here on this one, comments. We can add a comment. So I'll just say, just add a few things there. And I'm going to print this on the shipping ticket and on the invoice and save it. And if I wanted to, I could also enter an internal comment that would be visible only to your internal team via the inquiry screens. Okay, so we've got that saved, and we'll go back to the line, and I'm satisfied with my line now as it is, so I'm going to add it. It's going to appear here in the product pane, and it's waiting for me to add a new line. I'm going to stick with one more rental line, and before I enter my product, I'm going to ask you to look at this equipment number box. The product that I'm about to enter is a serialized item. So when I enter this serial number, or this item number, it recognizes that it's serial and it knows that it needs an equipment number. Okay, so I will search for that. And we've got 5 of these. They're all available. And each equipment number also has the serial number tied to it. In my case, the serial number might be might come with your manufacturer stamping that onto the equipment when you buy it. The equipment number, it could be an internal naming process that your organization has or something like that. I have mine set to the same number for simplicity, I guess. So we now have our serial number. So this is unique. This is one piece of equipment, and the quantity is now disabled because there's only one piece of equipment that matches this equipment/serial number. One other thing I'd like to point out here is I am going to drill to rates one more time because I want you to see that this has a different minimum rental period, 1 week, and this one does have a charge tied to it. We have a cleaning charge associated with this product. So I'll be showing you at the end, this will be incorporated into the invoicing calculation at the time of the return. Okay, so we'll go back up here. Okay, so I'm satisfied now with this line, and I'll add it. My next line I'm going to add is a used sale. And if you would notice that, oops, I will enter my product number in there, and that's okay. Notice that I have a price now instead of a monthly rate. This is whatever the standard sale price is, that's what's being defaulted in here. And we'll talk a little bit more about pricing as well when we get to the warehouse product. I am going to sell 4 of these, and I've got my default price, and I don't have any rates now, but what I'm going to do is scan down here, and I'm going to enter a discount for this line. So we're going to give our customer, oops, I'm not that generous, a 5% discount, okay? So now we've got 4 units and our price is $125, and the discount is reflected in our net amount. So we'll add right there, and one more line, a new sale. Okay, and here again, I will add my product number. And we are going to sell 10 of these. So be aware on the sale line here that the used sale line, as it's named, that will sell out of our rental inventory, and the appropriate GL accounts will be updated, and the new sale line will sell out of our default sale warehouse, that inventory, and the appropriate GL accounts will be updated. Okay, that's all set up in the background. So we've got 10 of these and we're all set. So now we're ready to add this line. Okay, so we have just finished entering our 4-line order, and I am going to finish the order and route my documents to print. It remembers where I was last, so I don't have to remember. That's our document. We're going to print our reservation and our shipping ticket. Okay, and we'll submit that. And I've got Infor Document Management open and floating around up here as a default for myself. Sometimes it takes a minute. Okay, well, I'll show you the reservation. We can pick the sales. I'll pick that one up. Okay. There's my reservation. We can see that we've got the rental lines first, the used sale is separated, and the new sale is also separated. So those are all, and that's how it is on the shipping ticket as well. Go back and see if I have that. If not, I will move on. I do not. I may have made a mistake in my, okay, we'll just move on without that for now. Okay, so that's our rental order. The next thing we're going to do is go back into our menu and shipping ticket confirmation. Okay. Once again, we enter our same rental order. We click next and next again. Okay, we have a question here, assume shipment. Yes means everything on that particular shipping ticket will be flagged as shipped, and the shipped quantity will be populated with the quantity that is on order. No means nothing will be shipped, and you have the option to go in manually and manually ship those or adjust those. So I'm going to leave this ship for right now. It's a small order. And update my date. So July 1st is my ship date. And we'll move forward with that. Now I'm in the order and I've got a few options here. As you can see, I'll pull up line number 1 here. There's my quantity shipped is already taken care of for me. And there's my quantity ordered. A few options. I can unship, I can change pricing, I can add lines, and I can back order. So if I wanted to back order on this particular order, anything that is left unshipped for this particular ticket will automatically create a back order ticket as we exit. And then you have a new ticket to deal with and manage the shipping on that one. And as you exit on the back order, it'll say, well, where do you want to ship this from and what date do you want to ship it from? So that's a nice feature that it automatically creates that. But we're going to go ahead and keep moving through this one, and we're going to accept everything as is, and we will move on with the confirmation. So I'll click finish there. Thinks I changed something. Okay, so now it's asking, do we want to convert the shipping ticket to contract? And I will say yes. All right, the first field here is the start rent date. So your ship date and your start rent date may or may not be the same. Just be aware that you've got the option to change that. I'm going to leave them the same. The next choice we have is, are we creating a new contract? And today we are. However, as I mentioned earlier, you've got the option to bring any shipment like this into an existing contract. So if we were working with a contract that was, on rent for quite a few months and now new equipment was coming in, I would just check this existing box and add in the contract number. So that's how you make that happen. But for today, we want a new contract. So we're gonna work through that. So we'll finish that one. So we still do not have a contract yet. We're in the middle. It's just opening the screen, allowing us to look at our defaults and make sure that we're satisfied with everything. And I am. So I'm going to click next. And it gives me one last chance here. Do I really want all these? I can say no lines, all lines. It's a safety feature, I think. It's the way I look at it. And then we'll click next. Now we have a contract, and it's telling us we have a contract and giving us a new number. So we are now in the contract, and we have not, it is now on rent and eligible for invoicing. However, we have not invoiced yet. So some choices that you have in the contract, you can update your contract, update pricing, make corrections, you can add new lines, you can even delete lines at this point. Once you get past invoicing, you may not delete lines. So you do have some options here. So we're going to finish the contract and then talk a little bit about invoicing. Finish that. Okay. Two options for invoicing at this point. One is we can print right now and print on demand and create our first rental invoice. I've got my system set up to pre-bill, and then all subsequent billings would be billed in arrears. That's why I started in July. So anyway, I can print my first invoice right now and it is eligible. However, the other thing you can do, and that I think many clients that we've talked to prefer to have a batch process to manage all of their invoicing. So I can walk away from this and just leave it sit on the system and wait for its turn in batch processing. Batch processing is a stored process that you set up once and then you schedule it, and it runs on whatever schedule you prefer, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. So a word about the batch process. Once you have that in place, there's a feature that we added in, and it is called a preprint and audit. The preprint and audit will basically print a draft version of all of your invoices for you to review, and it'll print an audit report. So you can look that audit report, look at your draft versions, and if anything looks like it's not 100% correct, you have options to remove it from the preprint. Or you can put it in a suspense status, or you can fix it. However, you have that option. So if you were to run this at 10 o'clock at night and then come in the morning and have that all waiting for you, and then once you are satisfied that the preprint is all valid, then you can finish it up and run it that way. So that's an optional feature that's built in. So for today, though, we are going to print on demand. Okay, and I'll print our contract and our rental invoice. Okay. Alrighty. And we'll submit those. Now, before we go and look at our documents, I'm going to take you into a couple of inquiry screens here. This is a good time to check things out. We'll go up to inquiry. First, we'll go into rental order inquiry, and we'll go into the order that we've been looking at. And right now it is showing me my top line has an invoice number of 0. My next line is an actual invoice number. We'll go into the 0 is the open contract. So this contract is in a printed status, which means basically it is waiting for the next thing to happen. It is either going to be included in the next cycle billing, or it is going to be included in maybe a next return billing. So this contract is just waiting for whatever's next. And it has been through one cycle. So here's our our invoice. We can go into this invoice, and some of the options here, you can look at your line detail and drill into your lines if you need to do any checking on the lines, and just gives you information. It's going to show all of our invoices. It's going to show the tickets. So your order inquiry is available, and you can check it during periods throughout the life of the contract and beyond. It doesn't disappear after the contract is closed. The other order entry, or the other inquiry screen, is our product inquiry. I am going to use our serialized item as our example, and what we've got here is this is where you would normally check, your stock and your availability. We have 5 stocked in our warehouse. 1 is rented, and 4 are now available. Okay, but since this is a serialized item, I'd like to take you to the equipment tab as well. So the equipment tab is also showing us the status here, and it's showing us that this piece is out on rent, and it shows us our equipment number and our contract number and the line number. Okay, so let's go back up to our document management now. Okay, so I've got my invoice, I've got my contract, and now we caught up to my shipping ticket that I didn't get to show you before. Okay, open that one up. All right, let's first start with that missing shipping ticket. Here's your shipping ticket that I wanted to show you first of all. Shipping ticket with our comment line and rental items first, sale of used, sale of new. And this is our contract showing us all of our pricing. And again, we've got our comment line. And here's our invoice. So the invoice too is broken down between rental and sale. It's showing us our rental period from 7/1 to 7/28 and our period billed. So that's what our rental invoice looks like. So we will go back now to CloudSuite, and I'm going to close out of here. So the next item on our list is we're going to return this. Alrighty, so close our inquiries. We'll go to entry, return entry. All right, return entry. I am going to show you a direct return. And by that, I mean I'm coming directly into rental return entry and I'm creating a return. I want to make you aware that CloudSuite Distribution has some advanced features for managing rental returns. One of those would be starting with a return ticket. There's a whole return ticket system. The return ticket system allows you to track your return if you have different statuses that your return goes through, like it's received, now it's in the yard or being counted. There is some logic behind the tickets that you can manage and track the status. And then you can have multi-contract returns, and it allows you to also assign a pre-return status if you choose to do that. So there's some pretty nice advanced features that if you wanted to have a deeper dive, we'd be happy to do that at some point for you. We like to show off, or we think we're showing off. So at any rate, we're going to go ahead and start the return and just do it the easy way here. So we said we build through 2/28. Bring my contract up. And I'll go on. Now we're in the setup return phase. The assume return rules that I described for the shipping confirmation, that's the same thing here. I'm going to ship assume return, and it's going to go in and return every line on my contract, every open rental line on my contract. And it's going to set the return quantity equal to whatever is out on rent for that line. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And I will back this up just a little. I'm going to say we returned it on August 5th at 5 p.m. So my next step would be, do I need to return this to a different warehouse? If I needed to, that would be fine. I could manage that right here and look for a different warehouse. And it is giving me a calculated period. This is the entire life of the return. So the entire life is a month, a week, and 10 hours. Now we've already billed for 1 month because we have our first monthly billing, which was a pre-bill. So let's go on and see how that all turns out. Okay, so here's my return. I could just take a look right here and say, yep, it all looks good, I'm done, and finish it. But that would be too easy. So the lines are returned, but what I'd like to go in, I'm going to drill into this line here, show you a few things. Number one, bearing in mind that we've already had a cycle billing, all of our minimum periods have been met. However, if this was a short term, less than monthly, and we were returning before anything was invoiced, I could come in here and change this to 0 hours and override the minimum rental period here if I wanted to. However, I'll leave that for now. So here's how this breaks down. It's showing us it's 500 per month, 125 per week, and the 10 hours is 744. So the entire rental for the life of the job is 632. We've already billed $500. So the balance is showing as 182.44. You cannot make another change here, which I would like to show you. You can come in and alter these rates or these values. I'm going to change this. I'm going to say I'm feeling generous and I'm going to forgive those 10 hours. And now we're just going to bill for 1 week, 125. So now the rental has recalculated to 625. We've already billed 500 and the line extension is 175. I would say that that doesn't add up because should be 125. However, if you'll recall earlier, we talked about the cleaning charge. So it's the 125 plus the 50 is our 175 here. Okay. One other thing I'll tell you about this screen is you can do a return and sell here. So if you wanted to, you would not return it on the front end. You would come in and return and sell it here. And if you had more than one, you could set whatever amount you wanted here on what you wanted to return and sell. And what that would do, it would return whatever it is that you're selling out and then create your sale line automatically for you. And then you could address the pricing for that. So I am satisfied now with this line, so I'm going to move on. And I'm satisfied with the return. So I'm going to move on, and we have now completed our return. So here again, we've got two options, the same invoicing options that I described for monthly invoice processing. There is a companion process or an identical process almost for rental returns. So I could leave this return sit and wait for it to be included in batch processing, or I could move on, or I can do demand print. But the batch processing is set up the same way as rental processing for invoicing, and it also has the preprint and audit available should you want to use that. So I'm going to go ahead and print on demand. And we'll send that to view. Okay, and we'll submit that. Okay, so before we go to get our document, let's go back to our inquiry screens. Rental order inquiry, I'm going to take that out. We're going to research this. Okay, so now we don't have an open contract anymore. We've got two invoices listed. I'm going to go into this last one and show you that now this is closed. But again, once it's closed, it's still available for research, and you can reprint from here, those types of things. And we've got our line detail, invoices, tickets. If you were using return tickets, those would also be listed right here. So if you have a long-running job with a lot of shipping and a lot of returning, all of your tickets for shipping and returning would be displayed on this screen. Okay, and I'm going to go back into our product inquiry, and we'll refresh this screen. Okay, so now we have 5 stocked and none on rent and 5 available in our yard and net. We'll look at our equipment. Okay, our equipment does not say available, it says check in. When we get to, we're looking at the warehouse product, I'll tell you that this particular product requires a check-in. So right now I would say there is a physical check-in process happening outside of CD rental, and some individuals responsible for a physical act to check this product in. And when the responsible party is finished, then they can come into the system and reset the status to available. A check-in status will allow you to add it to a rental reservation, but it will not let you convert that reservation to a contract. So, and you can't add, it cannot go out on rent until the check-in is cleared. Okay. So we'll go see if we've got our invoice now, and we do. Okay, here's our invoice. Okay, so this is our return invoice, and it's showing our period from 7/29. That's where we picked up after the period 1 billing through 8/5. The 8 days would be our 1 week plus 10 days. It still tracks that it did return. It did have those 10 hours. The fact that I overwrote it didn't erase the fact that it knows exactly when it came in. We're just not charging for it. So there's our return for both lines. It's showing me the contract is closed. If this were a partial return on an ongoing rental job, we'd have a message saying that this contract is still open, partial return still open, and you would have an optional outstanding equipment report right here in this area, the bottom of the invoice. It would list all the equipment that is out on rent and not returned yet, and it would list the equipment number, the units, and the value. That way your customer receives their return and they have a list of equipment that's still outstanding, so they know they're going to continue getting rental invoices until they return the equipment. I say it's optional because if you have a really large rental job and it's long running, your customer might be not really happy to receive a long invoice with a big outstanding list if you're in the beginning phases or still in the middle, heavily into the middle of a long running job. You can turn that off and then just turn it back on when you get into your closeout phase. So that is the order life cycle, and we made it all the way through that. But before we leave CD rental, I want to show you our setup processes. Okay, so I'm going to just close these out. You can see you can leave these screens open and have multiple screens throughout your workday. I've been using the menu and coming into CD rental this whole time. However, now I'm going to go into a process that is not CD rental. So I'll use the acronym. This is the warehouse product that I've been mentioning. So notice it's defaulting to my default sale warehouse because it knows it's in a standard Cloud Suite process. So that's what it's doing. I'm going to go to our serialized item and we're going to take a look at that. Okay. Again, this is standard Cloud Suite we're looking at. Many of the fields in the standard Cloud Suite setup processes are part of the overall solution for rental. So the rental processes are designed to utilize standard Cloud Suite logic and processes wherever possible for a couple of reasons. Number one, that integration is important. Number one, we don't have to reprogram what we already have available to us in standard. And number two, it allows us to, oops, I didn't switch my warehouse. It allows us to incorporate our rental fields right in with the standard. So the fields that are unique to rental are entered and maintained on a separate tab, but they don't have to be in a separate process. Everything's happening right here in the standard process. So let's go to our rental tab and we're going to look at a few of the fields that I talked about today. Want to come down here to the check-in required. There's where that check-in required is stored right there. Let's talk about our rates. So the rates for the default rental rate, you've got 3 options for your initial default. Fixed, which is what I've got right now, price and cost. Price and cost would be a percentage. So I could say I'm going to create my rental rate, my default rental rate as a percentage of price or cost. So where does price and cost come from? Right here. Here's our default selling price is right here in the ICSW. This would be the default selling price for a standard sale order as well. And the cost right there. That's also standard for sales as well. So rental is very, tightly tied into the standard. Couple other things we'll show you on this, but back to the rental rates. The rental rates now, as calculated and stored here, those are what are defaulting into your order as you create each line. They're overridable in the order, and they are also subject to change if we have some features such as rental rate contracts. So if there's something specific in that particular line and order based on the product, based on the customer, you have a wide variety of rate contracts that you can set up to drive special pricing agreements. So this is your default. That's your starting point when you default into the line. But then if you have special rate contracts set up too, then those take precedence over the default. And here's our minimum setup. And then down here these are the charges. So this is where I had my cleaning charge. And you can see you've got other options for charges based on the type of equipment. If it's serialized and you're collecting mileage, usage, or fuel, those are all handled. So this is pretty much how all of our setup processes will work. The rental customer is and the fields required to make it a rental customer are built into your ship to record. That's why the ship to is required here. So that is the end of our demo part of this, and I'm going to return now to a couple other topics that I'd like to cover on the PowerPoint.
Okay, so Kathy, I'll switch back over here.
Thanks, Daryl. All righty. Okay, so rental inventory management. CD Rental leverages standard Cloud Suite inventory management for all of the rental inventory processes, and also the GL posting can be set based on the rental warehouse or the sale warehouse. So depending on the transaction and the warehouse, GL will be updated correctly, and the correct inventory, whether it be rental or sale, will be updated. And this refers to warehouse transfers, whether it be a warehouse to warehouse or a quick transfer. You can transfer directly from a sale warehouse to a rental warehouse if you wanted. IC adjustments, you might want to use those for scrap removal or asset disposal. And you can create a purchase order directly into the rental inventory. So note that all of our process names here do not begin with ER. So there's nothing special about the ER, no logic built in. It's just utilizing standard. It's already there and doing the job for us. So we can go to the next screen. Okay, we have a lot of reports in CD Rental, but we wanted to highlight a few rental asset management reports and tools. Daryl mentioned earlier that we have a maintenance and repair entry and completion process that allows you to schedule out maintenance and repair on specific items and get those all lined up. In the maintenance schedule, you can run that based on a number of different criteria choices, like for date ranges, for specific warehouses, for certain product types, that type of thing. Our rental equipment valuation report, it's basically a point in time at cost. So in other words, what does my inventory look like right now based on where the system's at right now? And it will, tell you what you've got stocked, what's out on rent, and give you all that information about the value of your inventory. The equipment status report is similar. It's going to tell you what's stocked, what's available, rental, what's in check-in, what's in maintenance. So it's just giving you a look at the status, but it's by units, not cost. And the equipment schedule is a tool that allows you to go in and search. It's the report that basically answers the question, where is it, and when is it available. In other words, it uses all the information that it can in the system, open orders, open maintenance orders, open rental contracts, and all the dates tied to those transactions, and tells us, here's when this will be available. So that helps you with those conversations with your customers when you can say, yeah, I can have it already, or I can ship it on this date. And lastly, you have depreciation and carrying charges. Those are optional processes if you choose to use them. Depreciation will create a general ledger entry, and it will update the life-to-date accumulators that help you value your serialized products and know what their value is, and allow you to create a book value. Carrying charge is just an analysis report. It does not create an entry, but it tells you what is it costing me to carry these particular products or group of products in this particular warehouse. And I think I've got one more slide to show you before I turn it back to Daryl.
You do.
Okay, thank you. I've been looking at documents with you throughout the demo. I just want to point out that everything that is printed, all the print processes, everything is archived in Infor Document Management, which is part of our solution. And it makes it easy for retrieval, easy access, easy retrieval. You can go back in and say, if you're working with a customer and they are asking for information, you can select. You saw me selecting groups of documents. There are search tools within IDM. You can pull together and group different documents by certain criteria, and then just from the tool you can just say, I want to email this to my customer or whatever. So just be aware that you've got a pretty strong tool there for managing and archiving your documents. You don't have to, you can maybe save a few trees and not have so many filing cabinets. So just a little word there. Well, I thank you for your time today. This is, I'm glad you took the time to look at this. I hope you're interested and follow up with us.
All right, thank you, Kathy. So for next steps with CD Rental, what we ask of you is that you can complete a rental questionnaire, and I'll share a link to that here shortly. Following the questionnaire, we will then schedule a discovery discussion. We'll just review some of your responses, make sure we understand all of your requirements, and then we can schedule an overview demonstration. That demonstration will include Cloud Suite distribution with CD Rental. This next step is really interesting. If you're able to provide a script, kind of what we call a day in the life, we'll actually come back on site at your facility and show you a deeper dive demo of CD Rental based on that rental script. Super powerful to be able to see how your operation would run within CD Rental. If things look good from there, we can provide a total solution estimate. That includes Cloud Suite distribution, that includes CD Rental, so all of the software and all of the implementation services that would be required. From there, we'll get into contracts and agreements, a project plan, a kickoff, implementation, and eventually go live. So how to reach us. So here's some contact information. You can contact me directly. If you want to request a demo, you can do that at centraldata.com/CD Rental. And if you wanted to fill out the questionnaire today, you could at centraldata.com/rental questionnaire. So thank you again, everyone, for taking the time out today. This has been a great session. And again, we truly believe that we are revolutionizing the non-serialized space, and that is why the future of equipment rental is CD Rental. Thank you very much.